Hey, my friends, what's going on? This is David Wood, and I want to bring with you a special message about how to make a lot more money in your business selling your products and services. I don't expect there to be a lot of people on here right now because it's like the middle of the morning and I actually need to get some sleep. So I'm going to make this a really short video. And the reason why I want to do this video with you is because I want you to have the ability to change things in your life that you never could before. So now you're going to be able to change them. Right? But now you're going to be able to change them. And why are you going to be able to change them? You're going to be able to change them to plugging in my trainings, plugging into my conference calls, plugging into my webinars, plugging into the next event, right? And so, a few years back, man, I got to drink some more. I got a little stone at the top. I've explained that in other videos. It filtered it, puts minerals into it as you're drinking it. So in any case, I used to do all things like that with like yoga and whatever, because I took yoga and martial arts when I was a kid. So in any case, we are now paying attention together, you and me. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to teach you how to get things done in the right way. And it's healthy if you listen. Let me explain what I mean by, in the comment or the section below, that what did I mean by, I can't remember actually what I'm talking about. I'm getting tired. Good pattern interrupt. So in any case, the reality is that we're in a unique and precarious position in history where there's actually more opportunity for people to go from zero to hero than there's ever been in the history of the world. Now, there's also a pretty big opportunity a couple hundred years ago, but they didn't kind of have the kind of businesses that we do. So we have businesses that can make a lot more money than their businesses could because they're using different kinds of materials, because they're doing that at a more or less mass level, because everybody has a cell phone, right? So it's important to understand that when you're building, you got to start in order. Number one, right? Number one, you got to pattern interrupt. So pattern interrupt is basically you wake up the person who you're closing. Maybe you wake up the person that's trying to attack you in a fight and they get freaked out and you just punch them in the face. The pattern interrupt is extremely useful. Number two, okay, rapport. Rapport is the process of mirroring and matching. So if somebody lifts their arms like this, then you lift your arm like that. And mirroring is both are on the same side. Like, so I raise my right hand and then you raise your left hand and reverse. But if we do the same hand, okay, that's called matching. Okay, does that make sense? So what we want to do is we want to do things in a way that generates real rapport, like when people have friends, okay? When people have friends, it generates, oh, there we go. I see the time. I'm just checking something. Yeah, it's fine. So in any case, people see one thing or the other. They see that they don't have what it takes to succeed in them. Maybe they got their image really damaged. They had to go through a long phase of repairing their self-image because they were so hurt. And I think that this happens to a lot of people. And so you need to be able to flow from the love in your heart to really do any sort of long-term business most of the time. This is not always true. But most of the time with big companies, it flows from the heart of the founders, the heart and the mind. And maybe a CEO that's hired doesn't care about the company as much as if they owned it. But a lot of them actually kind of do because they'd prefer to do that, right? So in any case, I hope this is making sense to you. What I was talking about in the video earlier, which is you got to set expectations, build rapport, establish credibility. You've got to get social proof in there. You got to dissect and identify problem. Then you got to prevent. Then you got to set expectations. Then you got to create social proof. Then you have to show them the benefits of your product. And then after you do that, then you make an irresistible offer for that product. And then imagine yourself on stage and you got like a little certificate for holding everything together. So this certificate is holding everything together and you can put it on your wall and know that you can feel good now about your accomplishments. However, if you're a man, I don't think it's healthy for men to be too proud of their accomplishments. I think that the only real word that pride is used, at least for men, is pridefulness. And if people are prideful, people are going to have a hard time talking to them. So one of the ways of showing that there's more than enough for you is, of course, giving 10% of your income before you spend any money to a charity, right? And that would really help you out a lot, wouldn't it? So in any case, I get started and then, I meet all these people and then some of them took real well to my message and And some of them, they never did. Oh, I got some likes going on. There must be some people here. Oh, I'll have to check that out later. That might actually be a computer glitch. It's acting bizarre. I'll check later if there's any people on here. I don't think so. I think that it was a computer glitch that was doing that. So in any case, what I wanted to do was I wanted to tell you some of the things that I've learned from my own experience, from my own hard knocks, for selling the right way and selling the wrong way. See, I used to, when I first got online, for example, I used to sell products. Or I used to sell products, and then I went to only opportunity pitching. And then when that happened, my company started collapsing, and I kept trying to fix it by pushing the opportunity harder and harder, rather than just chasing the fruit to the root. Chasing the fruit to the root. The fruit is the root is like pulling up energy from the ground. Then you chase it up the body off to a branch or like an arm, and then that arm is holding a fruit, right? So if something has bad fruits, for example, if you look at society right now, I think there's a lot of good fruits in society. But also at the same time, we have a massive problem right now, and I want to talk to you about why it's urgent to listen to me, okay? You say, well, when's all this stuff going to go down? Does it really matter to start building up a game plan for emergency preparedness? It doesn't matter, people. Look, I love you. And if you really want to win and if you really want to prosper, you're just going to win and you're going to prosper. And you're going to do it in a way that, hold on, I got to grab my head covering. You want to do it in a way that helps them win. So, for example, I don't particularly like gambling. There's an event I want to go in Las Vegas, but I didn't have the funds to get down yet. But I'll have the funds next time, or maybe I'll even try to go up tomorrow or something. I don't want to do attend, but I've not really been paying too much attention about what's been going on out there. I've been paying attention to my own game plans. And now I'm starting to pay attention to news. I'm starting to pay attention to, I've read like 50, 60, 70 books in the last couple of days. You say, how's that even possible? I got a lot smarter and I can read a lot and comprehend a lot more than I used to be able to comprehend. Now, reading that fast, am I going to get everything that I get out of it reading really slow? Well, in one way, yes, because the text is in my unconscious, but the real reason, or the real answer to that would be obviously not. There's obviously going to be premium knowledge everywhere. There's always going to be thought leaders selling their books. There's always going to be thought leaders and salespeople selling their CDs. And so if you really understand this and you understand where you're at, that you're at a critical time in history, that if you don't take action, what if you missed this? What if you're going to miss this boat sailing off to the promised land that's in front of you? And I'm not talking just about me. I'm talking about society as a whole. It's going to go through a massively rapid transition. It's going to get very violent for a while if the people don't repent. Okay, and we might be able to avert that. There might be a way of averting that. But I believe that it's going to get very violent and more and more and more violent. In fact, I think that it's going to be, from where we are right now, I think it's dangerous to have kids in public schools, at least in America. You say, well, why is it dangerous? Well, it's dangerous to have kids in public schools because of all the stuff that's going on with, you got the transgender movement, you've got the, and excuse me if this is offensive for you, if any of my viewers are transgenders, my heart really does go out for you, but you need to repent and reverse the surgery. You're going to be a million times more happy if you do that. So in any case, what do we do next? Right? We realize that to bring people together, we got to put aside our differences and our disagreements about stuff. So if you don't, for example, the way I do business is if somebody doesn't want to hear about my spiritual teachings, I don't really tell them. Occasionally I do, but very rarely do I tell them. I only really tell them when it's time. Okay, when it's time. And that saves a lot of face, understanding that you don't have to give everybody all of your secrets, especially on the first go around, because then why would those people want to hang out with you and pay you money all the time? Does that make any sense at all? No, that doesn't make sense. So here's some things that you do. You build rapport. How do you do that? You do that through matching and mirroring with your voice. You find out what they want, find out why they want it, find out the resources. That's like how much money you've got to dedicate towards your business, how much time you've got. And, feel free to do it a little free flow, but map the structure out, watch the video a few times, and then you do all the other steps that I mentioned already earlier, and then you give them an irresistible offer, which is an offer they can't refuse. And then what happens is they can't refuse it. Now they get it. And what happens is this irresistible offer is like tons of bonuses to sell a product or something like that. Or like, you're going to get my personal time. That's it. If you're rich, this is actually, if you're being honest, there is nothing that is more valuable to you than that. Okay? You need to spend time on what matters. And right at the beginning of something, even, it's better to not work any more than 10, 12 hours a day for maybe a month or two. It's really better to work about 9 like everybody else does in society, 8 to 9. But some people, they just like working all day and night. I've always been like this. So it's like 2 in the morning. I need some sleep. And my eyes are like, yeah, you can see how tired I look right now. I'm very tired right now. But it's okay because we're almost done. And then what's going to happen is we are going to create great things together. You're going to create them with me, and I'm going to create them with you. We're going to create great things together. You and me, and them and you. And them and me, and you and me. X. X marks the spot, right in the center of all that love. Now, here's the thing that I want you to think about. I want you to think about, what would your life be like if time and money weren't an issue for you? Would you travel to the world? Would you go to the beaches? I mean, what would you do? See, we got to break down walls of separation between people. When I was building Network Marketing Strong and Empower Network, we had the most diverse team anybody had ever seen in network marketing history. Everybody was just being themselves. Everybody was being, well, not everybody, but most people were being themselves. They were being authentic, and then they learned how to become more authentic, and they were excited. And why were they excited, and why were they doing it in this way? They were doing it in this way because we gave them something that they actually are going to use. I swear I didn't pee. Spilled some water. So in any case, you want something in your life that you can feel good about, that you can resonate with, and a leader who's going to take care of you. That's how you kind of select a network marketing leader anyway. So there's all these things that I've seen online where people believe one thing, and then they believe another thing, and then their followers believe 3 more things, and then all of a sudden nobody even remembers what the original teaching was. And this, for example, is a lot of what happened in Christianity over the last couple thousand years. A 2,000-year-old religion kept falling into apostasy, just like the ancient people, Jews did. It's a little bit different because they're still saved and born again and stuff. The problem they were having is they weren't honoring all the prophets, and therefore, I'm telling you, because we don't honor the prophets, this is why nature is getting ruined. Okay, there's a major problem going on right now in society where people don't understand and don't care about what happens tomorrow because they're just thinking today, let's eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. We never know when we're going to pass along. Therefore, maybe our kids will clean it up. Maybe our kids will clean it up. Make sense? So there's this giant. No, I'm not going to mention that. I'll maybe in my next video. So in any case, what you want to do is you want to do things in a way where you're at peace with yourself and others are at peace with themselves. That's a win-win. And say, well, what does that got to do with martial arts and this martial arts knowledge you've got? Well, that's going to be one of my businesses in the future. I'll have a martial arts opportunity that I build. And I didn't continue it on the first time because I wasn't ready for it, and I wanted to focus on names that are more related to my blog. So, I mean, my blog, Kung Fu is related, but it's not. My blog's like a spiritual blog, right? So what I'm meaning by all this is that if you want a new life and if you want a new business, then you're going to pay attention. So how do you build? Well, first of all, you've got the whole concept of a funnel. You've seen it a million times. If you're not familiar, to imagine like a funnel to drop oil or honey into something, okay? And then at the top of the funnel, before it touches the top, you've got a lot of air, and there's these people swirling around. That's capture attention, right? And then they're all starting to come in, and they're all starting to join with you. Then go look up Tai Chi on the internet and memorize a Tai Chi form. But what happens is that if none of us stand up for our rights, this is what I want everybody here to understand. Who wins a lot of the time? The criminals do. Now, the righteous win a lot more, in my opinion. But the criminals still, they win a lot of times. And if you don't realize that, if you don't realize that you're going to win sometimes, then maybe you're going to lose all your money all the time in the past before I decided to change. The reason I don't like gambling in particular, I can make money anytime I want to with gambling, actually. I've been tempted to do that several times, but I don't have a sort of a starting role or anything like that. I have to figure out something to sell, but I don't really have any things. So, but I could beat roulette like nearly every time. I actually made $5,000 in a week doing that once. But why did I stop? I stopped because I got addicted sitting in there in front of a casino online that was. I withdrew a lot of the money though. A casino online, and there's these near naked women there. You know what I mean? Which of course was very attractive to me because I'm a man. But the problem is that I felt like in order to win, by its nature, what I was doing was taking from others. What do you mean by that? Well, in gambling, no matter what the gambling table is, in order for you to win, somebody else has to lose, right? So if you solve that problem and you have a way of winning, okay? If you have that problem, you have a way of winning. Then that way of winning builds you new ideas, new civilizations, new business partners, new spouse with the same spouse doing things right with each other and coming back together now. Then what happens is this. What happens is that people, they band together when there's enough social proof and expectations are right. Like if you go look at Beachbody. I think it's what they're called. They do the P90X program. I'm sure you've heard about it. They don't say, hey, in Beachbody, this is going to be the easiest thing ever. You never have to do any work. You never have to learn anything. Just come in and just lay on the ground and you're tough when you get out. Now, I'm not suggesting that things like that will not exist in the future. But as of right now, we got to actually work out. Technology is not there. We actually have to work out in order to expand the capacity of our body, our brain, and our biology. So the body, the brain, and the biology. We need to connect them together. Think about that like its own form of Trinity, as the Christians would say. I actually heard some Christians talking about this the other day. But what's amazing to me with the Christians is the same thing that's amazing to me with people that are not Christians yet. The Christians, they never read spiritual books of any other religion. At least my church does that. They encourage you to read the spiritual teachings of other religions because it's freedom-based and they want you to understand them, and you can cross-reference them against our scriptures and look at what our prophets have said about that particular group of people. For example, you got the Quran, you got the Book of Mormon, you got the teachings of Buddha that was written down by his apostles, very similar to what Jesus did in the New Testament. And then it's almost time for me to go to sleep. I just like snapped like this, right? Just waking myself up. That did a good job. So what happens is that if you really want to get the results that you want, whatever those may be, what are the 5 things you would do and have if time and were an issue for you? What is it that you would do? Would you go to the beaches of the world, sinking your toes into the hot sand? Would you go and do charity for the first time in your life? Would you become who you've always wanted to be or travel where you always wanted to go to? I think so. And this is actually what it's all about. It's about having an opportunity that allows you to do the things that you want and is not going to bully you and pressure you and stuff like this. Now, sometimes they need to do a little pressure because they're like, hey, if you dishonor these policies again and again, we're going to kick you out. And we don't want to do that. We think of you as a fantastic leader. Can you do me a favor and make the change because we love you here? I remember I confronted one of my employees in Costa Rica with stealing. And I'm not going to mention who he was. He was just somebody that worked for me for like about a year. We used to have maids and stuff like this and maintenance people and everything like this. Okay, so this guy, I'm sitting there and I am coaching him, right, for a long time. Then what's he do? Well, then he goes out and he starts another company that has the destiny to be about as great as the first one that I made. It could never be quite as great because that was unique. There could be something greater. I would have to be involved with that, of course. There's very few people that, hey, what's up? There's very few people that know how to do what I know how to do. And that's the same with you in your area of specialties, isn't it? Right? So here's the thing. Again, it's the middle of the night. I'm about ready to go to sleep. I wanted to make this a relatively decently short message, but let me actually tell you about how you can really profit. So you send a lot of traffic to the funnel, you capture leads, you get sales, and then near the bottom, you've got upsells. Then you've got people coming out of the bottom of the funnel representing commissions depositing into your bank account from all those loving people that were your customers. People are not to be used as an object of money, but you get my point. And so, you can't sleep. You're excited. You're like, man, I'm going to be so rich. And then what happens is, right, something falls apart, and then that person turns on one of their best friends, thinking that that is in alignment with the laws of their higher power, which actually, no, it's not. There's nothing reference to that. There's one reference, and it says, thou shalt not help the poor man in the wickedness of his ways. But in I think it's the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah says something actually very different than that, right? So I'll tell you what that is a little bit later on, right? So the Messianic age is nearing. And if you want to really defend yourself, and by the way, I'm rambling around on purpose to capture attention because I think it's funny. And I like doing these things because then people are like, what's he talking about, right? So what happens is that people bind together. And when they bind together, their enemies fall apart and then turn on them, and many of the enemies turn into friends and join them. I've had some real experiences this last year helping people get through some really nasty problems. Okay? Really nasty problems. Problems that none of you even have. Now, I could have helped actually a lot more people than that, but I need people to really start believing what I'm saying because it expands my ability to do miracles with faith. And I'm not the savior or anything like that, but that's actually why I do need it. But I can construct that, and if it's not this crowd, I'm not bothered. I'll just go find a new one that doesn't have all this baggage about me. And they respond to me actually just fine. I was talking to my friend Jesse over in Texas, a couple weeks back. So I was talking to Jesse over in Texas a couple weeks back. Or no, on the phone. And, he's having a problem where his wife is dying of genetic disease. Like she's dying of what people would call that, which would be cancer, right? In the past. Now I told him, I was like, dude, bring me out to Texas and I'll just heal her for you. It's not something I'm going to do over the phone because I don't know how well you do dealing with the demonic energy that can come out of a person when they're going through something like that. Because there's a reason why diseases like that one and others form in the biology. Even the sexually transmitted diseases, why are they there? They're there because people just have sex with whoever they want with no regard to consequences. About 90% of the time they have sex. Now, this might not be as true with women, but for men, it definitely is. They just want to get laid most of the time. So you got to be very discerning about who you're associating with, don't you? Yeah. So in any case, this guy, well, I'm going to tell you another story. I'm going to tell a story about a guy named Brad Duncan. This is why people need to come together. Okay. So my dad used to go to all these Amway events. And you want to know what, around when he stopped? I want you to hear this because it's to me, it's very funny. And there's other reasons too. And he's also very busy and he loved Amway, right? If we want to know why he stopped doing it, is because he went to this Sunday morning church service in the event because he wanted to see what it was all about. And he really liked it, except for when Greg Duncan was on stage, who was a founder's triple diamond or something like this. I mean, this dude's just making bank like you can't imagine, like bank, has private jets and investments out the wazoo. He just makes bank left and right, this guy. Okay? And so what happens is that when people dishonor each other, then there's a new way of doing things when they forgive each other now. Forgiveness is very powerful. So this person, they're like, they say all sorts of stuff or whatever. And I'm like, okay, and then they don't do what they said they were going to do. This is actually the problem, no matter what it was. You ever know anybody in your life who, they didn't have any solution at all for you, but they were pretending to? See, it's better if you're an integrous leader to just not do any of this stuff that's going to hurt you and your family. So it's like 3-something in the morning, like 3:30 in the morning right now, and I'm thinking of you. So I wanted to do a video out of the goodness and the love of my heart. And I hope you share it. I hope you share it with some friends, because I'm going to teach you some things too. So what do you do to get the close? Well, it's better actually if your funnel can just sell a really low front end by itself without the phone. And then from that front end sale, you're recruiting your customers, because your customers are already a buyer and they already like you and they already trust you enough to pull out their credit cards and make a decision to buy. The next phase is, okay, be very careful with your emotions. The way that you can control your emotions, the easiest way to do it is a combination of release work, emotional release work, like write and burn, where you write something, and then after you write that thing that you write, you put it in a little container outside, like a metal pot, and then you burn it, and you watch your problems disappear into the past, burning in the flames. Fantastic ritual, is that not? There's other ways to do it too. You can do it in your mind. You can imagine it burning. But it's going to be more powerful if you write it and then you burn it. It's infinitely more powerful. And you should do one in the morning with your right hand and one in the morning with your left, unless you're reverse organized and your left hand's the strongest. And then you do that one first and your right one second. So 2 different intentions, one in the morning, one in the night. You do that, you're going to make a lot of money over a long period of time, because what happens is this. So what are the keys of prosperity? Well, let me explain it. It's kind of the same. It's like the keys of prosperity are create relationships, find out what people want, find out why they want it, the resources to get it, and then you gently put them into the next step in a way that continuously has next steps that brings them back to the core of their creator. I believe that when people are free, they always do amazing things. I believe that when people are free, they always do amazing things. When people are free, they always do amazing things. Well, not all of them, but they still do more amazing things than when people aren't free. Because even like in the old Wild West, when people used to do shoot-offs in the street, at least people knew they were going to happen and got out of the way. If it's anything like the movies, I actually don't know that that's exactly like the movie, but I think it was. So, then they got their gun in their pocket and one of them shoots, and whoever, wins is the sheriff, I guess. You know what I mean? So there's all sorts of people that died like this, before in ancient history, which those fights were at least respectable, honorable, and somewhat more cool than what people do today, right? Which is sending hundreds of thousands, 1 million troops, all over the world, policing everybody and things like this. Now, I don't think that there's anything wrong necessarily with having embassies and stuff like this, but I think that it's my personal opinion. Our troops need to be mostly home. And then if we declare war, we leave nothing left of that person who messed up and blow up their Capitol building and everything if we need to. You say, oh, I don't know about that, Dave. Well, the reason I'm saying that is because I'm not talking a terrorist attack. I'm talking about Congress declares war. We get in a room. We make a strategy, right? And we come out of nowhere from every direction at the same time and just wipe them out. Because that way, what happens is people get scared of fighting wars. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? So when people forget about their problems and then people understand that we don't need wars if we have another outlet for people that's legal, right? Most of the time anyway, we won't need wars. Now, are we going to go into a war? Yes, because people are not going to repent because they want free food and free circuses just like they did over at Rome before it fell. And so, but there's a point. There's always a point. What's that? To build relationships. What's the point? to create friendships? What's the point to get customers? What's the point to live a good lifestyle? What's the point of living the good lifestyle? To attract more customers and reps that help you sell. So network marketing in particular is a very good industry. It helps you get going. And I'm thirsty. It helps you get going. Okay? It helps you get going. And when you get going, then all of a sudden people start to follow behind you. And then what you do is you teach them to split off in different directions, but still stay communicated. So one goes to that city, you move them all over the place, just like Brigham Young used to do with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, one of the early Mormon prophets. He started more cities than anybody started in American history. He did that by just telling people where to go, and then they just go, they start a city there. I believe that might be how St. George got started, but I'm not sure. Brigham Young had a house here in St. George. Brigham Young is very, 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 very cool. So in any case, I'm about done here, right? How do you put it all together? You're like, well, I don't even understand what you're talking about in those stories. Now, I got you lost, so you're confused. So I could bring you to this moment, and I could help you. So what are the 5 things you would do, have, and become if time and money were an issue for you? What are the 5 things you would do, have, or become if time and money weren't an issue for you? Would you go to the beach? Would you drive a new car? Right? Would you move to a new country? Would you stay in this country? See, nobody ever thinks about things like this because their mind can't handle it because they're living in a poverty existence. And I've gone multiple times in my life where temporarily I've been in a poverty existence in the past before I changed. It really, more people come to me than what go out. Does that make sense? So I think somebody's knocking on the door. Hold on, I'm gonna go make sure because I think I see somebody. All right, I'm back. All right, here we go. All right, so what you do is you do things in a way that what you're doing is still going to work in some manner 1,000 years from now. That way you can build a business like the central bankers do a really long time in advance. You plan it. And then what happens is it keeps expanding and 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 expanding like you're up at the top of the mountain and you push a stone and the boulder just smashes everything in its path and lands right in the river, which was your goal. And the river floats the boulder down somehow, even though it's very heavy, to the promised land. And maybe it had foam on the inside of it, you never know. And it went to the promised land and you were running on top of the boulder as it was going down the hill and you thought, wow, that's quite fun. What prosperity is really like is prosperity is like flowers budding. What prosperity is really like is prosperity is about people creating peace with you and you creating peace with them. What prosperity is really all about, it's about honoring the environment and the animals. So we still have an environment and animals 100 years from now. Okay? If you love me, keep my commandments, saith he who sent me. And didn't Jesus say that in the New Testament? Yeah. So my point with all of this is, it's time to change. New way. None of this old stuff anymore. We need complete newness, complete freshness everywhere. Better emails, better autoresponder systems, better text messages systems, better technology to make every part of your life more simple. You say, what do you mean? You can be very simple without technology. But you can also be just as or more simple if you have a little technology around because it makes it easier for you to study things and to learn and to do things that are helpful for your wife and your kids and your family and things like this. So sometimes in life, you got to reach down inside yourself and you got to find something that that you didn't know hold on a second. I was just looking at something. So you want to know exactly what to do next. And what you got to do next is if you don't have one, set an intention and an outcome. And if you don't have one, then make a game plan. And then memorize your plans, right? Wake up early to bed and go late to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. However, there is something that's very important to note, that a lot of successful people like staying up at night and working, and they like taking the mornings off, much less than like just working until like 6:30 or something like that. I think I'd actually prefer most of the time to hang out with people in the mornings or something, because it's sunny and it's not too hot. You know what I mean? But whenever I'm there, taking a shower is actually fine. You know, if I have things. So in any case, what we want to understand together is we want to understand, how do we as a group, as a unified body of people, stick together no matter what? You know, I've had I was mentioning this in, well, no, I'll upload it. I'll upload it. I had this, this funky situation that happened one time I want to tell you about a couple of days ago. I think it's in one sense, it's very funny, but another way it's not. So in any case, let me explain it like this. Not a single one of you is prepared for what's coming. And that's very scriptural if you believe the Bible. Even if you knew all the stuff that I knew is going to happen, which is a lot, I talk about it in my book. Even if you knew what to do, you still are not going to be ready just from knowing what to do. You'll be better off than maybe another person. But like, for example, let me give you a good example. Let's say there was a food storage for 6 months in Chicago, Illinois. What would they do? And that's the only place it was. Well, they would go crazy most likely, and they'd start eating each other. This is what people did. This is what people are doing this in Venezuela. And I don't want to give attention to this. This kind of thing is happening from all over the world, because this is what Torah promises will happen if people don't hearken the law. So we don't hearken the law, and therefore all those curses pass down into our families, into our biologies, into our sisters and brothers from the fathers. And it makes the biology more weak. Over a long period of time, the biology gets much more weak. For evidence of that, just look at how strong people's teeth used to be. And for example, the Cro-Magnon man or the Neanderthal, or even the earliest humans that were all humanoid. Think about how that worked for a second. Right? Make sense? So what you want to do is you want to create peace strategies. Peace strategies. If, well, I can check some. Peace strategies. Oh, I already took the thing out. Funny. All right, so peace strategies. Peace strategies are like, let me give you an example of peace strategies. So the Christians, finishing off my story from earlier, the Christians were, very powerful, very successful people, because they're delivered from the curse of the law through the grace of Christ. However, that doesn't mean that they're not supposed to follow the law. All of the early Christians were Torah observant Christians. Even Paul was Torah observant, right? He's just confusing in his language. And most people are not as intelligent as Paul the Apostle was, right? So what happens is that we've got this situation. And this situation is, we need to change things up now. So how many people watching this, you felt like a longing for a very long time to do something different? Like there's something that's missing in your life. And I really would like to see people saying, well, I'm not very prideful, so I try to stay humble as best as I can. And I don't like violence, for example. They could do that. In the Book of Mormon, actually, there's a group of people, I can't remember their names, and they just beat all their swords and their weapons into plowshares. They buried it during the middle of a war and said, we refuse to fight. Because they didn't want the negative energy. They just refused. They just put down their weapons of war. Powerful, isn't it? So what happens is that if you understand these things and if you understand how to change things in your life, then you are going to get the results that you want to get. If you're willing to stay in submission to an upline mentor who's good, who's prosperous and powerful, okay, then what happens is your energy aligns with their energy, and then miracles can happen. Like I used to have at my events, people get up out of wheelchairs and just walk out of their wheelchairs. Like Kathleen Skaggs, she's just not alive anymore, but she had been sitting in a wheelchair for like 10 years. And like barely able to move. And then one day she just had so much faith, and right in front of everyone, she stood up out of the wheelchair. And we're talking somebody that's been in the wheelchair for like 10 years. Very old person. So they're dead, obviously. And I could have saved their life too. But they weren't at a place to receive it right then. They weren't in a place to receive it. And I understand why they weren't, because they got hurt quite bad about something. However, this is what I want you to understand. You can do a lot more miracles when people believe in you, and you'll get a lot more belief in you when you believe in others. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So what we need to do is we need to build things that are peaceful, powerful, true, holy, righteous, majestic. And that changes all. Like, for example, let's say we had 1 billion years to make the best roads ever. Like 1 billion years. And there was no rush, there was no hurry, but the construction workers were still making enough money from refabricating the road to pay for their time or whatever. And what if we did something that like many other peoples have done, which is like they hand lay the stones in the streets. I saw a house in Costa Rica, a very big $1 million home, $900,000 home. And the guy had personally, there's all these rocks all through his poles and through his structure in the house. I was like, where'd you get all these rocks from? He says, oh, I went and picked them by myself at the river. By himself, he did it. Right? Now that's cool, isn't it? Prosperity is like when two people decide to be together again and to work together again after many years of failure. And then what happens is everybody feels good about themselves as they're flapping in the wind because they just broke out of the cocoon. Wow. The lost butterflies. It's like the lost city of Atlantis. Where are they? So, anyway, I'm about done. My final closing thoughts for you today, because I got to go sleep because look how tired I am. I'm like exhausted. Been working all day, and I'm growing back my beard. I like it so much better like this. I think it's awesome. I look more like a man, I think. You know, I think society wants men to look like women, but yeah. If you can grow a beard, I'd grow a beard. There's this magic power the beard has. It's like you're walking around and it like energetically connects with all the other beards around, and you just meet people like you didn't meet before. You say, well, that might happen if you shaves too. Yeah, whatever. Maybe, maybe not. This is my way. So in any case, I go running, I go walking and everything like this. So this is what real prosperity is about. It's about having the time, freedom, and the money to do what you want with who you want to do it, when you want to do it. And if you don't have that, you don't have real prosperity. Okay? You might have prosperity in certain areas of your life, like maybe you're broke. And maybe what you want to do is you want to have a prosperous relationship. So you go and you read books, buy books from the bookstore. Okay? I got something exciting that I'm working on right now, so I want you all to pay attention to it. Because I essentially, there's going to be a time when I'm going to say, hey, it's time. We need help. I need your help. And you should listen to me. Say, well, why is that? Well, I'm not going to make you do it, number one. Number two, you could not listen to me if you don't want, and then just the karma of the universe will slap you, because everybody's supposed to get over it with me. And everybody's supposed to get over it with you. But I have a much bigger kingdom than most people. Doesn't mean that I'm better at everything. It just means that in one day I was built from before I was in the womb to do the things that I've done and do the things that I'm doing. I'm built for this purpose, right? And so are you. This is the key. There's a reason why you are watching this video right now, listening to the sound of my voice, because now you're starting to begin to understand the flower of things as they are in their majesty, opening and giving you a new secret from within. A new secret from within. And what's that secret? Well, it could be this, the secret, like this book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It could be my book, The Great Tribulation, Scientifically Explained by King David. It could be one of Donald Trump's books. I'm going to read like all Donald Trump's books the next couple of days. And, I'm going to speed read them. I'll go back and read them slower later because I get more if I go slow, but I speed read. I get all the information. It's all there and I can access it when I need. Just, I'm still getting better at accessing it. But it all forms holograms in the unconscious mind. Okay? So here's the deal. Do you love me? I love you. Let's at least a minimum keep it at that. Feel free to call and say hello anytime. Hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/The Messiah David. I'm almost ready to start promoting a few things, but I'm still working on getting my blog system functioning right because I never really spent a lot of time on this last year. And then I went and I read this great book called Systems Theory the other day. And I'm like, I knew I was supposed to do this, but the thing, and I read it in like, 5 minutes. It's like a 300, 400, 500 page book or something crazy. I don't know if it's that long. It's pretty long, but I read it. It took me 10 or 20 minutes or something to read that book. And so systems theory, this is essentially, everything in your life needs to be revolved around building systems. Like, for example, when God creates the universe, he doesn't just sit there and do manual blessings with his hands after he's done things that are like it and set up a system to where he never has to fulfill that request personally again. Unless somebody asks him to do something differently. Okay? So the challenge is getting God to do something that he's already done so many times. But this is not necessarily the case with me, and the reason it's not the case with me is because I'm one of those guys that like things to be like perfect. Why? Well, it's not necessarily the best way of getting started. Sometimes you just have to get started. But even when you're getting started, you want to get started in a way that you can maintain and continue and that promotes your team and yourself right from the get-go with a manual, with a fast start workbook, with mentoring, with systems. And in my team, for example, we'll come up with a lot of this together. I already got a fast start manual that's just, this thing's killer. It's killer. Hey, what's up, whoever just joined us? Good to see you. So it's a killer thing to do. It's a killer thing to do wrong word. It's a beautiful thing to do to love people. Oh, hello from Texas. Simple meant CBBQ. Cool. Well, glad you're on here, brother. So in any case, the next thing is visualization. It's extremely important to learn how to visualize with absolute complete clarity of mind. Because if you can't focus, you can't get anything done. So what does society tell people to do who can't focus? They say, go get ADHD drugs. And I'm like, ADHD drugs? So I went and got them for one. That's what they told me to do when I couldn't pay attention. And that's what they tell you. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, 5 years later, 3 years later, you realize that even the micro amounts of amphetamines that you're taking into your body cause permanent brain lesions and lesions in your heart and blood vessels all over the place. And people, like tons of kids drop dead from it every year. From those things, from the lesions in their heart. An adult can handle it usually a little bit better. I used to be attached to everything. I'm doing good. So I'm having a hard time seeing because my eyes, they're a little blurry right now. This happens sometimes. I was just trying another medicinal herb that was a different one. It was super poisonous. But I can eat poisonous things because I'm not moral. So the thing is that I want everybody here to understand is that if you really want to truly get to the next level, what do you need to do? Well, the things I just talked to you about. So you find the resources, you point to the next step. Now, all that is encased within a third-party referral sales presentation. You say, what do you mean? Well, I learned a long time ago that if you're the center of everything, you have to be there all the time for your system to work because nobody else knows how it works. That makes sense? And when nobody else knows how it works, when nobody else knows how it works, then you've got a secret. You don't want to give all your secrets to everybody. Hold on a second here. Anybody? Hold on. I gotta make this a little smaller or something. Give me a second. I'll go over here. Go over here. Hold on. I gotta read his whole comment. It was cut off. I seem great. I seem to be intelligent, to be from Earth. Oh yeah, I'm from Earth. You know, I'm obviously from Earth. I was born 18. Well, sort of I'm from Earth, and sort of I'm not from this world. So what we did is there's like 144,000 of us that did this. We basically made an agreement with the Father in the celestial kingdom before we incarnated, something called the pre-existence. And then it was like we signed contracts for everything that would happen to us our whole life. And he asked us to give up our free will so everybody else could have theirs. Now, it was actually half a test and half true, right? Let me explain. So basically this, I see I'm going all over the place. I need to go sleep in a second, right? But what happens is that, we invent new technology. If we invent new systems, if we invent new stories, if we invent new ways of doing things, everything around us can really change. Everything around us can really change, right? So yeah. So is you seem to bring intelligence to the earth, right? I don't know what you mean by that. You'd have to describe that to me, okay? But thank you. Right. So I do know what you mean. I mean, I bring revelations to the earth. So he's asked me, where am I from? Am I human? Yeah. So what happened is that there's a celestial technology that we build in the future that rewrites reality and space-time under the direction of God the Father. When it's like during the 1,000-year reign of Christ, the city gets built. It's called the City of New Jerusalem, and it leaves to the stars for 1,000 years. And then Jesus is reigning on the earth personally, right? So I'm from Earth, yes, but I was conceived, I exist from a time loop. So I'm conceived May 17th, 1981. I live for 133 trillion years. And then I incarnate backwards in time, turned into a single cell from something called the universe engine and placed into the womb of my mother. Now, other people I know this happened to them as well, but they have different time periods that they were in the celestial kingdom, right? And they're less than the time period I was in the celestial kingdom. Some of them are in there for more. My wife is in there for, I think, about the same time as me, or a little bit less, but she was up there for a long time, probably more, to be honest with you. And so there's all these factors that are pulling everything into place to create a message that resonates with everybody around you. Okay, and that makes them want to join and get attracted in, because we've got to start a revolution. I don't think anybody here understands this. Not Bernie Sanders' kind of communist resolution. That's not what we need. He actually calls what they did in Cuba the revolution. But people are not better off in Cuba than they are anywhere. They used to be better off than a lot of places, not anymore. Because they lost their freedom, and now they can only do what the government wants. The government feels like they need to control them, but the problem is the government doesn't know how. So in any case, how did you figure this out? Figure what out? The stuff about myself? Oh, I remember it. I remember it. Yeah, nobody could ever tell me something like this didn't happen. I remember it. When my crown chakra opened, I started to be able to. This happened to Buddha too. When Buddha was enlightened, he started to be able to remember all manner of details about his past lives. Okay, and so I have a really big consciousness, and I'm kind of connected to everyone. So my karma is actually I've got to essentially help God save all of humanity with Jesus. How many worlds are in the universe? Is that what you asked? There's 312 trillion sentient main ones. Like a little over 133 trillion years. That's because we made one world per day, 6 days a week for 1,000 years. So if I'm messing up that math or something, let me know. There's one world a day, 6 days a week for, a long time. Is the incarceration real? Or what are you asking me here? There's all sorts of things that are negative energies that are out there, but resurrection definitely isn't going to hurt anybody, right? There'll be a lot of people that are resurrected, and a lot of manifestations of the second coming of Christ, where a lot of people get taken to heaven. That's not resurrection; that's translation. So, the translation, okay, is when your whole body transforms. I actually did a video of this on my YouTube channel. You could go watch it in a bit. Go watch my video. Yeah, but I'm having a hard time reading because my eyes are tired. Are you some kind of prophet? Oh yeah, I'm the Messiah David. Tad Donio. If you don't know me, just go to the teachingsofkingdavid.com. There's two Messiahs. I'm David, and then there's the Savior Jesus. You say, who's David? Everywhere in the Bible that refers to David is in some manner, myself. Right? David in the Old Testament was one of my previous incarnations. Adam was one of my old incarnations. At least one of the Adams was, in a direct line, but really they all were in some regard or another. Because there's many Adams and many worlds, each one called Earth. So what happened is I went through a major spiritual awakening, and since then I've been able to directly access all the information that's stored in my brain and my cells and my biology. So let me explain what happens. You have genetic signatures inside your body, inside your brain, inside your heart, everywhere, your genetics, that are programmed to do certain things, right? When that programming gets messed up, those who do that can get something called genetic disease. And you say, well, where does that come from? People might get mad at me for this. It comes from your sin and the sins of the fathers. Okay? Now, that's not true. If there's a woman on here, for example, women are not judged by sin, but they still can transgress against the way of glory. But there's no women in hell, for example, just men. It's all over the Bible, actually, this one. I've told people this many times, and they read the scriptures, and they're like, well, that's an interesting interpretation. And I'm like, no, this is actually, I'm describing to you very carefully what actually goes on and what actually happens. Okay? And if you want to know what happens, then what you've got to do is you got to pay attention to detail. So let me explain what prophecy works. So the ancients used to utilize medicinal plants, right in righteous groups. You have what's going on with shamanism, which I don't like, because the shamanism, it doesn't come from the right place. I'm just telling you. Some shamans do. I mean, they're at this point they're essentially 99% polluted by somebody else's satanic energy because of all the things that have gotten weaved into the shamans. All my life, I've been trying to gain the teachings of kings, Jerusalem somewhere. I am finally at a place of speaking and cut off. See, I'm having a hard time. reading this. So in any case, let me just keep talking. Thank you. I don't know how to say your name because I'm having a hard time seeing the letters I can always see. So it's something that I took from this herbal medicine I read about. The vision thing comes back in a day or something like that. It's because the eyes get so relaxed. So sorry, see, it's already worn off. I'm already adapting. I can see my hands a lot better than I was. They were blurry if I hold them here, but if I held them here, they weren't. So you gotta be careful with herbs you drink. You know what I mean? But I'm fine. I didn't get sick or anything like that. So, it was actually quite useful. So kings, yeah, I'm this by David. I'll be the king of Jerusalem and Israel. That's me. And there'll be a lot of other kings that emerge from that all over the world. Because I'm going to get everybody building kingdom systems. So we'll have a kingdom, and then the kingdom separates from the nation, so people can still vote on national law. Or they can choose to use the kingdom law, which is Torah, first 5 books of Moses, which is an infinitely better legal system than anything anybody's going to come up with unless it's revealed, which there's something else that I'm going to reveal at the top of a mountain, very similar to Moses when my power grows to a certain space, which right now it's not there. My faith isn't sufficient to be able to do the things that I need to be able to do. It's getting there, though, and it's not yet. I'll say this. I have a faith that everything that I said is going to happen. That's fine. But, it's not just faith that matters. It's creating something, right? So I spent maybe the last 2 years just doing nothing, essentially, but studying and mastering every part of my mind and my body. My body's got a long way to go. I was just watching a shirtless video of myself, and I'm like, my stomach looks a little flabby. I need to do a bunch of sit-ups and work out and stand on my hands tomorrow or something like that, right? So answers the question. I'm absolutely a prophet. And this comes from the messianic prophecies in the Old Testament. The Messiah will be a prophet. What is really actually funny to me, and I'm not mad, by the way, anybody here or anybody who watches this later, is that there's only 3 people on this thing. And I know it's the middle of the night and whatever, but there should be 200 people on here. There should be 200 people on here right now or more. Okay? And then 500 and then 1,000. And so I'll build up to that, and we can build up to that together. The reason we need to do it, though, is very simple. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was telling him about the things that are coming. And he says, well, that's fine. I'm not worried about it, which I thought was a great response. And then I was like, ultimately, it came down to he just thought that what I was saying is bullshit. That's what he thought. Over there. Without really ever even having a long conversation with me about it. Am I a cultist? No. I don't do occult magic. The only place that, I'm not going to talk about that either because it's just way over everybody's heads. So what you want to do, and by the way, everybody watching, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. I think probably everybody here has, but I'm not sure. Just, subscribe to it. To find, okay, histome to tear today. I can't read that. I'm sorry, I can't read that. I normally am very good at reading. It's just because the letters are a little bit blurry because my brain is like, it's a very interesting thing that I tried out in the forest, apparently. You know what I mean? But I'll be less distracted tomorrow or whatever. It's going to be fine. Okay? So if you really want to win, if you really want to create great things, pay attention to me. You say, well, why? You're going to see me and my stuff growing faster than everything that exists once I get a handle on the small mechanics of it that make it work. Because I'm not playing around. I got like 3 companies I'm looking at starting right now. I got to focus on one at a time. So I hope that answers your question. Is the reincarnation real? And all this stuff. Yeah. So what do I do to? What I do to do it is very simple. I have medicinal herbs that I take that loosen up my consciousness, and then I write down revelation that basically tells me what to do and tells me how everything in the universe works. My theory that I've got, that's actually the book I'm working on right now. It's called The Theory of Quantum Mechanical Consciousness. I came up with this theory, which actually is not a theory. I'm telling you, it's how it works. Where my doctrine is like not from me, so therefore my doctrine side of things is perfect. Sometimes I speak presumptuously and things like that, what I'm still working on. Hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/the Messiah David. I reversed my age from you probably can't see how young I look right now because it's a weird light and it's a little camera inside the house. Okay, hit me up on Facebook. Here, let me write this. Okay. Okay, well, let me write this. Facebook. Actually, no, you just do it. Facebook.com/the Messiah David. I'm having a hard time even seeing the letters typing right now. So, anyways, I took these herbs and they created essentially a bunch of things. I regrew my brain back with them. My skin now essentially feels like baby skin, and I'm 38. I'm not putting the Messiah David. I'm the father. I don't care if you believe that, but two messiahs. You have the son, then later on, the father comes, and that's me. That's why I'm the other Messiah. Jesus in the New Testament is referred to as the root and the offspring of David, the bright and the morning star. Jesus is referred to. So check this out. Jesus is the root and the offspring of David. The bright and morning star, for example, is my birthmark right there. You can probably see it. That's actually there's star constellations. All your tattoos and stuff are star constellations. That's how it works. So Christ is like that too. So for example, I've already done this before, and so have all the members of the 144,000. They've done this as well. In other words, they've repeated this cycle many times. So anyways, I hope that helps. But those herbs, I don't have my scientific evidence back yet. But I'm immortal. I'm not mortal. I've had people try to kill me, all sorts of stuff. My brain just grew back. My skin grew back. I mean, like super fast. So I'm talking about a destroyed brain. So now I'm not blaming it. It is what it is. It is what happened. So there's a lot of weird phenomenon that's going to happen over the course of next decade or two or something. I don't know exactly what's going to be, but in addition to me and several others, the Antichrist is also here. The anti-Messiah is another word for that. And he can do some scary stuff because he had a lot of money when he started this process. So if I had money and funding from the government, I could create superheroes very easily. I would just need enough funding and enough time with the doctors, and I would do all the experiments on myself because I'm not afraid of death at all. So I run all day like a little kid. I read all day and night. I'm constantly learning. I'm playing video games. I'm writing in my journal. I'm going for a run. I act like I'm 2 years old, except for an adult version of it. And it's more mature, maybe. Some ways, probably not. The kids, they know things we don't know. But in any case, I don't want to use that to gain authority and to control any of you or anything. Say, I'm the father, do what I say or whatever. It's not why I said it. I said it is because we're talking about this Messiah thing and you asked me about it. Okay. And where did it come from? Well, it came from after my enlightenment 2 years ago or whatever. I remembered living millions of times, then thousands of millions, trillions times 100 trillion times of incarnations. I just have to focus on them individually in order to get information from that life. And it tends to come to me easier when I need it for some reason. So if nobody asks about it, then I just kind of keep that stuff to myself because it's just like there's so many of them. So then after that, the next day, I'm sitting there with my friend at lunch after this long drive. He knew I was enlightened because I told him the previous day. And what happened is I tell this gentleman, he asked me something. right? Oh, and then I said, I'm immortal. And it was just a knowledge that I had come to me. And he got this look in his eyes like, I was nuts. So what happened is this dude, I'm not going to mention his name because his name is not worthy to be mentioned for me. What happened with this was he really messed me up bad trying to kill me. Okay. I got drugged. Like, I'm not making up a story drugged. I mean, I really got drugged bad, like enough to kill a lot of people. And I have blood tests. You know what I mean? I've never taken any of that stuff in my life. You know what I mean? Am I the infinite one? Hold on a second here. Yeah, I don't know if I'm not God, right? So God is what specifically, there's many manifestations of God, right? So my blog talks about a lot of this, but I'll just go over it really quickly. So number one manifestation, okay, the number one manifestation that you have is, man, I'm getting so distracted. I'm having a hard time focusing on anything. I think in a minute I need to go. And maybe I'll continue this discussion another day, but I want to finish these thoughts. I'm not the Father in heaven. So the way that it works is there's several main beings of the Father that are referred to all in Scripture. But they're actually one being. One of them is a male-female consciousness, and the name of the male consciousness is Elohim, or God. The name of the female consciousness is Shanti Ra, or goddess. Okay? So he architected this universe alone, and that was all of us because it was all of our consciousness. So you were there, I was there, except for it's been wiped from everybody's memory but mine, because there has to be some relevance of secrets to protect people. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to reveal too much secrets about, for example, where the creation space is and stuff like that, because I've got enemies, and then they'll try to wipe out the creation space from existence, and then we're all dead. You know. But they need to be confounded from that, and confounded from understanding it. So what do I mean by that? Well, I just watching this great pastor, Jesse Duplantis. And Jesse, he was the first Christian evangelist that I'd ever seen, right? And he had some remarkable feedback about how to do business properly, about how to do life properly, about how to worship Jesus properly. You can tell he loves Jesus very much. He's a very wealthy evangelist. You know what I mean? Has very good fruits. Makes mistakes as well. So in any case, this prophecy thing. How do you prophesy? I'm going to start something called the School of Prophets soon. See, I got to stop mentioning this stuff because I noticed I had 3 viewers on here. And then I start talking about this stuff and they all just disappeared. Isn't this ridiculous? I mean, that's where it starts to get. So this most holy Elohim, he architected the universe, and it took him 133 trillion years after being alone for thousands of trillion years. Okay. And he couldn't figure out why there was nobody like himself. So what he did was he, why is there nobody like myself? Like what's going on? And then he tried to find him. There was nothing there. So then he architected the universe and then pulled all of his quantum mechanical energy into a single point, which would include his whole body. The only person there that was his friend, which was his wife, right? There's a female that was there. That was the female essence of the creation space. And he didn't understand her just like she doesn't understand now. He didn't know how he got there until the latter third of architecting the plan, where he discovered that he got there, right, from making himself. And his plan was to send prophets like Moses, teachers like Buddha, like Muhammad, like the Hare Krishnas, like all these great religions, those fantastic religions out there. People just need to stop. People need to stop bashing each other, right? If they stop bashing each other, we're going to go a long way towards creating success. If we bash each other, then what's going to happen is that as we're tearing other people down, the higher power will tear us back down to show us a lesson. So in any case, this falls in line because this is the only way it could exist. It's from a time loop. Yeah, it's from a time loop. Right? In other words, my incarnation is without beginning of days or ending of years, because my incarnation is there, grows for 133 trillion years, then incarnates backwards in time. Time loop, without beginning of days or ending of years. when the most holy Elohim woke up, where was he? He was in the womb of his mother, the celestial kingdom. So he woke up in this space and he didn't know who he was. And he started shouting because his name was David as well. He's the one that's referred to as, this is a spirit that must be worshipped in spirit truth. There's also a father with a body, and they're linked together through time. So this guy, the most holy Elohim, right? He figured a bunch of stuff out, and then he figured out finally that the reason why he was in that space alone was because he put himself there, and then he worked that into his plan in a way that all of the memories would stay intact eternally and reorganize the second. So the Big Bang had to happen. There had to have been a ton of information going into the universe the microseconds before the Big Bang started. Okay? Microseconds. Okay? And then all of a sudden what happens? Well, the microseconds, I'm getting distracted. Hold on. Oh, how did it come from nothing itself? Well, it came from, it came from, I think it might be time for me to go to sleep, to be honest with you. Comedy of the discount. I don't know if there's a discount. We can talk. Hit me up on Facebook. You got the address up there. You know, so in any case, let me explain what happened. So the most holy Elohim then makes a plan to incarnate or be born into his own creation. So he links his consciousness with the past and the future. And then that information from all of my biology, for example, get put into the cells of my mother's womb. And then I'm born May 17th, 1981. Okay. And at 4:01 p.m. Alaska time, which is a time of a great astronomical alignment with the morning star. It's my birthmark. And Jesus is the offspring of David, the bright and the morning star. Right. So how did it come from nothing? Well, from a paradox. See, everything emerges in the universe from nothing at one point or another. And consciousness is just something that for some reason can't be created and can't be destroyed. But in one regard, at one point in time, it had to have been architected by somebody in a way that makes it that way, which it was. So consciousness can't be created. It can't be destroyed. You say quantum particles get destroyed. No, they actually just go back into another universe. That's what they are. You can't destroy a quantum particle. You can't destroy the consciousness. It might split into 5 smaller particles, but it's not. You can't destroy a quantum particle, right? Not what they're for. They're consciousness, right? So that's basically the essence of. I hope this was a fun lesson for you all tonight. Again, hit me up on Facebook. The link is above. Facebook.com/The Messiah David. You can also read my blog at theteachingsofkingdavid.com. Again, theteachingsofkingdavid.com. Read my blog, tell others, restore Jerusalem. Oh, go to Facebook.com/The Messiah David. Appreciate you.